Hello, hello, welcome to League Taken. Here at League Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. So, I got my notes. We're going to tackle this subject. So, I sort of had a theme in mind with some of this content that I was going to put out over the next few weeks. And the first one was spells and spells and spells. So, if you have not seen that video, go check that out. I posted that last Friday. Of course, this could be a long time from now, but anyway, it's the video before this one. So the spells and spells and spells video. We're going to talk about spell results and sort of analyze a little bit spell results. It seems obvious, like what do you mean? It's I cast a spell for something, I got to something, that's the result. Maybe or maybe not. So how do you measure spell results? So I kind of gave one simple part of it away, a simple, easy, identifiable results type spell. It could be something simple as, oh, I want him to call me. So he calls you, oh, I want to get that job. So you get the job, that sort of stuff. And then I want to talk about what I call spell groupings, right? Kind of the spells and spells and spells part, or like ritualistic magic that you're doing. It's not necessarily the type of magic, but it's more like ritual. Within a ritual, there's spells being done. So, and I said there's a difference, but I'll get to that. With that type of work, it takes a closer observation and a little bit more discernment to understand the results of your spell. It's not always so obvious. There's a certain amount of power that exists that you can't manipulate and you cannot control. You can sort of interlace and work within, but the entire situation is just not going to be doable for everybody. It's just not going to be possible. That is very difficult for people to understand when they come into witchcraft, because they believe a lot of what's being told by charlatans, by people who really are just trying to sell you something and make you believe that everything can be controlled. So it gets a little murky when you're talking about what results look like. So let's get into this a little bit more. We're going to dig in here about spell results and trying to really kind of get behind the rationale of it. So back to the simple spells. This is our new example. We're gonna rock with this one and we're gonna build on it. So, and I was inspired by this because I wanted to go to the Renaissance tour, Beyonce, and yeah, I got the tickets. So I definitely did some work myself. I wanted those tickets. Like I'm very serious. Like that was happening. So simple spell. A simple spell to get concert tickets. A spell to get concert tickets. That was the goal. That's the mission. Stay with me. So something like that. Maybe you do a simple candle spell, light a candle or write a petition to, it's a great time to work with Oshun. Work with her, maybe petition, for her help to get those tickets, to make it so that you get to buy a ticket, right? Now, I was going to call this part where things go wrong, but that sounds negative, and I don't want a negative, but we'll just say the reality of the situation maybe turns into the tickets are available, you can get them, but they're expensive, meaning if you buy these tickets, you can't pay your rent. If you buy these tickets, you can't pay your car note. If you buy these tickets, you can't pay something, take care, or you won't eat. But could you get them? Yes, they're available because that's what you asked, right? So that's a simple spell. We got that, right? Those are results. Those are good results. You have to leverage, your possible, housing stability, but you got the tickets. Let's go about more complex, right? So you add and you do the spell, but this time you're the person that says, no, I'm going to add an affordability factor and good seats. You want to make sure, because the other one you could get them, but Maybe if you didn't get the real expensive seats, they were the seats in the nosebleed section. You didn't really want that. That's not what you envisioned. So you think ahead and you make that part of the spell. So you do your candle magic, you do your petition. You use the stadium diagram though, right? You use photos of in my case, we're using Beyonce examples of Beyonce. You're singing the song, you're, just singing out loud, the music's playing while you're doing your spell work. Add a little more complexity, a little more energy to it, okay? So here's where your results could get tricky. The tickets fit in your budget. However, remember you said good seats? So when you said good seats, you were thinking on a floor. You wanted floor seat. You wanted to be as close as you could to the stage. But you got good seats, but they're not on the floor. I mean, it's not nosebleeds, but you're not where you thought it would be. What your perception of what good is. It's good, but it's not good. You know what I mean? You're grateful, you move on, you go, right? But it wasn't what you really thought. Looking back, yeah, you had a great time, at least you got to go. You talk like that. When really you did a very successful spell. You really did. Sometimes when you have a little bit more complexity going on, because you're not just asking for one thing. We talked about the simple spell. So now there's a little bit more complexity. So it's like the results are a little bit layered. It's better than a nosebleed. It's not the best, but they're good. In the middle. Wait, that's not the middle you were thinking about. We gotta make room for the universe. I'm just saying that back to the chaos thing. We have to make room for that other folks, their will, their desires. That's all happening. I mean, obviously you're focusing on yourself when you're thinking about all this and doing the work, but be mindful of what's happening around you as well. Okay? But that's still a successful spell. Those results are great. It's not so much to do with the results. It has to do with sort of your perception and what you're bringing, the type of energy you're bringing to your spell work. A lot of people don't know what they want or know how to really articulate, even in a place of manifesting, of spell work. And that's a whole other thing, but that influences your results. So let's talk about bigger spells. The spells on spells on spells. Spells performed during rituals. And why am I highlighting that, making that a thing? Because spell work being performed during a ritual, there's more energy. There's more, there's more energy. You put more power, oomph to that spell work. So the same as the previous example, the candle magic petition, using a diagram, photos, song lyrics. But if you're doing it on a new moon, within a new moon, your new moon ritual, okay? So it's a timing thing now as well. You create a lucky object because you're not getting the tickets on the night you're doing the spell and the ritual. You will be, you're doing it ahead before the tickets are for sale, right? So you're preparing. So timing. New moon, you've now created a charm, or so like I said, a talisman, a good luck charm that you'll use on the day. All that energy you're bringing into the situation to affect the results. So now in a situation like that, think your results could be all of the above. You could get a little bit, you can get what you want actually. Actually, we'll take a step further. You can get all that you desire, what you saw in your mind's eye, or what you have been imagining, or what you felt like would be right. All those things are happening. And like most things, you ever, if you're planning to go on a cruise, you plan on going on vacation, there's that anticipation that starts to build up. So in our example, you're so excited. But then you get there, and there's just so many people. And you're happy to got the seats, got your little outfit, you're happy to be there. You can't wait to see Beyonce. However, the people next day, they're really excited and you're excited, but like, man, they're loud, right? These are real things that happen to some of us, maybe not all of us, but you're excited. But even if it's not your inner stuff, you could just be affected by the outer stuff, and that's affecting your mood. So, the person that is so happy next to you, but they're screaming and are hurting your ears. It's taking away a little bit from your enjoyment. And your feet start hurting because you've been on your feet the whole time because you love Beyonce. You couldn't wait to get there, so you on your feet. But damn, your feet hurt. That anticipation was fun. So when the concert's over and you're done and you've screamed your lungs out, and there were times where you did have fun. It was fun. It was exciting. And a lot of it was what you wanted. But there's that part that was annoying most of the time. Feelings of anxiety, being around large crowds, being too tired, being on your feet, not having as much energy as you thought you would. Or, there's so many other things that went wrong where it kind of might jade you a little bit to how you review, how you thought the results worked out. Did you have a good time? Technically, yes. I don't know, but maybe it wasn't all that you thought. When you did all this forward, when you put all that energy into it, wasn't all that you thought. It was successful. I think most people say, yeah, of course, I got the seats up, I did this, I did that. But you really were looking for an experience. And I know some of these examples might seem a little far-fetched for some people, because they're like, I would be very excited. Like, oh, that makes sense. Like, that's a negative person. Not necessarily. Listen, I talk to people. You'd be surprised. Okay, a lot of us have our patterns, our routines, and things that we do. And when we're doing something out of our norms, some of us really, I think most of us try to put our best foot forward, and we come into it very excited. And a lot of times with all that anticipation and what we're building something up to, the little things like the person screaming in your ear, it takes away from the moment, the experience, how you felt it was going to go. Because this is an annoyance. You can't shut out. Like it's kind of robbing you of the joy of the moment, right? But is that considered did you get everything you wanted in that spell? When you write down your spell results, do you see it that way? And I think with things like this, I wanted to pick something fun and simple. This can get a lot more complex. You can easily apply this to house hunting. You did a spell to buy a house. It started with simple, so to find a house. So you find a house, simple, right? A little bit more complex. You make sure to find a house that you like, that you can afford. The first house is great, but you can't afford it. Second one, second spell you did, you can afford it. However, it's not a location you want, but you can afford it. Third time is the charm. You put all of those different components into the mix. Well, it doesn't come to the way you thought. You don't get to buy that house this year, because before you can buy that house, you need to make more money. Because what you really want is to live in a certain area, and their housing prices are not coming down. So you need to make more money so that you can get that house. So you're going to have to do something different to get there. So now there's these different layers, but it's hard for people to see that these other steps, are leading up to this big thing, this thing that you've actually been wanting, that you manifested, that you did the work for. It might not be instantaneous, which, I want to get into this because it's not, like I said, it's not to be, I don't mean this to put negativity on things. It's more, I'm trying to give you like a cloudier version of results, because a lot of times people do magic and it doesn't happen in a simple way. It's not always black and white, the result. Depending on how you feel also influences your results, as far as how you'll see the results, how you measure the results. How do you feel about it? In that last example with, you're kind of annoyed you're there, but the people around you is not, it's a little too much, even though you couldn't wait. You thought you couldn't wait to be a part of the crowd and the experience. It can jade, again, how you felt about it and what you considered successful. So let's break this down a little bit more. Notice I gave examples of like how to build on the spells, just like the candle magic and so forth. think about what energy is being used, because that influences your results. I know some people say not to get too definitive in your spell work because you have to leave room for the universe. And I do agree with that. However, depending on what you're working on, you might need to begin. Abundance and prosperity spells are wonderful, but abundance can be measured beyond just physical cash, just cash. It's abundance in, I don't know, candles, herbs. You got a great deal on the bulk herbs. That's abundance. See, you got to be careful. So when the spell is performed. So if you want to affect more positive outcomes, successful outcomes, yes, maybe think about when you're going to do the spell. Sometimes there's things that just has to get done. You don't have time to figure out where the moon is and this and that. It is what it is. It's got to get done. When you are in a position where you can plan, yes, take account for full moon, new moon, the time of the month that we're in, the beginning of the month, the end of the month. Think of sun signs, where we are, astrology essentially, feast days for specific deities that you work with, birthdays, death dates, especially when you're dealing with ancestral work, you know what I mean, and you're petitioning. Think about all that sort of stuff. Anniversaries, things hold meaning, and if they hold meaning, that's energy, and you can work with that. Realizing your true purpose of the spell. And I alluded to this a moment ago where I talked about sometimes people really don't know how to articulate what they really want. I think a lot of it is not just because there's something wrong with how they explain, even to themselves, even how they allow themselves to feel what they want. Because if you're thinking about it, you're feeling it usually. The reason is because of most likely fear. It boils down to fear. You're afraid. I've been there, to really feel all the feels about your truest desires and what you really want, because it can feel devastating if it doesn't happen. You're not willing to risk feeling anticipation and expectance. Because if it doesn't come through and you really want it, it might knock you off a little bit. It might really upset you. And it's not something you might be able to come right back from, the level of disappointment. And as we get older, life can do that to us. Going into relationships, you had anticipation and expectancy of it working out, especially if you got married, having children, you have these ideas and plans, but when your children don't do any of those things, actually they go not even just opposite, like way off the map of what you had mapped out, to their possible detriment. That hurts. So there are some things, we allow ourselves outwardly to truly show that we want and desire. But with our spell work specifically, that's usually private. Nobody has to know. Take solace in that. Nobody else has to know what you really, really want except for you. Learn to trust yourself. Learn to believe that it can happen. You can truly make it happen. You have the power. Why not? Why not you? Why can't you be the witch that brings this into fruition for yourself? Now, within that context, believe and then have some level of, patience. I gave another example, and it takes time. The bigger, the broader you're working on something, allow time to happen, which is going to tie into my next thing. So, more patience and commitment to the work that you're doing. Write it down. Write these results down. The more broader, bigger type things you're working on, write down little things that happen. Maybe create a dedicated space to put this in, a book, a journal, get a new journal, or if you prefer a computer or notes app on your phone or something like that. record the details. For instance, visions, different thought forms that pop in your head, downloads you receive, dreams, 100%. Those are all part of spell results, especially dreams, guys. A lot can be revealed in dreams that tie into this thing that you're trying to bring into fruition. Sometimes what you're working on, there might be something more to it than just what it is. And, our ancestors sometimes come to us in our dreams. I like to believe our higher self, our deities that we work with, spirit in general, come through and interact and give us symbols, messaging. Symbols is where be mindful of that, and signs that happen in waking hours. But yeah, sometimes we're given some guidance as best as they can share with us, so that we can understand a little bit more of what's going on, instead of just thinking you're going to remember. I'm talking to myself now. Write it down. Trust me, write that down. Because when you're looking over it, when you're at a point maybe halfway through of getting what you want through that spell, it can be motivating to see how far you started from zero, of it just being an idea, and then you grew into something else. And that can be very powerful in helping you stay aligned to what it is that you're doing the spell work for. I will say this. When I was younger, this saying always was so bizarre to me, but I say it now that I'm older. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That is the best thing you'll take away from this. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Oh my God. Just because it didn't go exactly as you had hoped it would, does not mean it was not something considered successful. Your spells. It doesn't mean it didn't work. We'll go back high level. And it can take time, again, to understand spell components that influence your spell results. It can take time, years. Some people have a skill when it comes to doing spells. And it does seem like it does work. You see those people do spells for other people, and it seems like it works. So I do believe it's a skill and it can be learned, but for others, and I think for most people, it takes trial and error, and that could be over some years. It takes energy. You need to figure out what type of energy that goes into that spell. What is the best type of magic should I use for this spell? What components, what tools, what's the best use? And here's the thing, what works specifically for me, you may have this just desire to just add in something extra. And you don't know why, but you follow your intuition. And it makes sense for you. That was that little, that personal signature, yourself, your power on it. And that's where, it's you're the power. You're making the spell work. But you have to be able to trust yourself and identify with that. You're the biggest influence over your spell results. The components are really, you're bringing the energy to it. And what are your thoughts around everything? I've talked about it, like your emotions around even the day you're casting or the days leading up to. Those, especially older folk back in the day, when they would be doing some workings, they would it was a process leading up to it. There's certain things they might abstain from, or, depending on what they was working toward, to prepare for this big work that they were going to do. So, be mindful of your energy going in, and also as you're doing the spell, and then when it's done. If you go through all this work, you go through generating this energy, putting it into whatever you're putting into in the spell, and then, a week later, you have a defeatist attitude because things didn't happen as quickly as you had wanted or had hoped, that's not going to help your situation. Instead, for me, in situations like that, which I've been in, how I started growing more is, one, making myself be more patient. understand, and then having more discernment on the fact of, okay, am I really looking at this in a way that I fully am taking in everything, what I've done, what I've brought to it, and what's really happening, am I seeing this for what it is, or am I seeing it for what it's not? Because it's not exactly how I saw it would go. And when I start kind of rethinking and seeing things a different way, I'm like, wait, it is working. I can see that it's working. Even if it's a matter of it's just me personally, I don't see anything change in my environment or anything that seems to be working toward my favor for my spell. But I'm starting to just feel different. I don't know, all of a sudden I just have this feeling. Let's say it's money, my left hand starts itching, let's say, I want to be heard, I want to be seen, I want to be in a space where they see me, for whatever reason, job or something like that. I want to be seen, you want to get chose, that type of situation, all of a sudden your ears itching or something like that, people talking about you. It doesn't always mean negative. It doesn't always mean negative. Those at least that's those some of my things. That's some old school stuff about that, by the way. But yeah, I thought about these examples as best as I could, so hopefully they make sense or resonate a little bit. But you can kind of insert a little bit on thinking about really measuring spell results. It seems simple enough, and sometimes it really is that simple. For a lot of us, we practice magic, and I don't want to say that just the longer you practice that your spells are all just simple and black and white. No, because no one person is, and their energy signature they're putting on their magic is not simple. We're complex beings. So hopefully this all kind of made sense. This was something I struggled with in my practice. So in the beginning and middle parts of really truly understanding, did this spell work? Like really trying to really wrap my mind, like did it? I mean, I think it did. You've probably been there before, so hopefully this made sense to you. So thanks again for watching. I'm Mika. This is Leap Taken. Please like, subscribe, and share if you haven't. And again, thank you so much to my Leap Taken members. I really appreciate you. And if you are interested in checking out what I have to offer over at leaptaken.com, that's my website. I offer readings, a monthly subscription, something a little different that's out there where I combine divination, tarot, oracle with the moon phases or overall astrological events, and I combine that into some monthly readings. Check that out as well as my mentor program that I offer as well. So thanks for watching. All right, bye.